And this is like flipping the affiliate model on its head, right? To an extent, because like you speak to any affiliate, at least until last year, and the model is, okay, I want to rank on a keyword, get someone on my site, and I want them to click out as quickly as possible, because gosh darn it, if they don't click out as quickly as possible, I'm going to end up with a lower conversion rate. And I want them to select one of those sites, click, go, and then convert on that website. And then it's done, right? And maybe I have some programmatic, I can retarget them, I do some smart stuff with telecoms providers, yada, yada. But that was the model before. But now we're going to a different kind of model over time. We're going to an attention model. And realistically, I mean, right now, what would my advice be to affiliates? Um, so don't just have one asset. If you're going to have one asset, do the best job that you possibly can to build a brand, like from the domain name into um, the kind of authors and personalities that they have and content they write.
I'm John Wright, and you're listening to Affiliate BI, the business intelligence and affiliate marketing podcast brought to you by StatsGain. Welcome to the Affiliate BI podcast. Today we're chatting with Sean Bianco, who is the co-founder of GainChanger, and he works on product marketing, SEO, affiliation, and paid media. And I know we got lots to chat about today. Sean, welcome to the show.
John, it's a real pleasure to be here. I mean, I've been seeing you online for a while. Then we just had the pleasure of bumping into each other in person, got to share some words. And it's great that we managed to get this done so quickly. So glad to be here.
Quick turnaround, but yeah, it was great seeing you speak on various SEO panels recently. I mean, I've seen your name pop up over and over again. So, where I want to start with is the conversation we had, where I was explaining the software that we work on, and I was explaining the stuff we were trying to do in ad tech. And what I knew was interesting was that in less than 5 minutes, you connected the dots very quickly. You basically said, wait a minute, if this ad tech gets off the ground, it could become like the Google AdSense of affiliate marketing. And, I knew you had a sharp mind when you got that in 5 minutes. And that took us years of iterating that idea and kind of going, where can this go? Like, what does this look like?
Yeah, and it's all about just brainstorming and trying things, failing in a lot of things, and seeing what could possibly work. And it also took me back. So, I mean, when we started Game Changer way back, our initial intention was to make it a software company. But we were just two guys without any funding, building sticks and stones software, as I like to call it, where you have to like go and mess with the code to get things done. And we're actually building software which helped operators find affiliates and contact them, and helped SEOs find websites which could help them rank on Google and contact those websites and acquire backlinks from them. So when we bumped into each other and you told me about what you're doing, instantly it took me back to that stage at the very, very beginning when we were starting off. And yeah, I mean, back then we just didn't have not only the technology team, but also the smarts and let's say market intel. So as soon as you mentioned that this is something which you took on board and you're pushing it, I'm like, okay. So I've seen over the years as we moved over to an agency, okay, and that's where we're focused. So we are an SEO agency, hyper focused on SEO. I still had that in the back of my mind as I saw things progressing. So instantly, as soon as we connected, number one, I think that you're great guys and you're doing a fantastic job. So I can only put my thumbs up for what you're doing on StatsDrone. It's great. And I mean, even back then, there were people in the space. I wouldn't say that they were. I mean, they were good at certain things, but I wouldn't see that they were the best. And there were things that, I mean, even just from the conceptual point of view, that can be done from connecting operators, not with affiliates, but with audiences, right? So that was the idea. So there are those affiliates traditionally, how it worked, that speak to, let's say, any operator, or rather, they're quite difficult to get a hold of. When people have these great websites with loads of traffic, forget just, you know, sending out an email and getting reply. It just doesn't work that way. So that's when events come in, personal relationships, and all of these other aspects. So, back then it was thinking about, okay, so we're going to be scraping to look at collecting data help identify backlinks that could have an impact on search engines and doing a lot of work around that. At the same point in time, we're scraping data about, or rather collecting data rather than scraping, right? I mean, from different APIs, from, let's say, different affiliate websites. How do we manage to connect the dots between what people are looking for in this data and how do we help them get the result? And then you can start looking into the audiences. And when you're collecting all of that data, you can also start looking into compliance and how that fits in. But the really, really nice thing about this is that when you have a lot of data, which I believe that you have right now, I mean, you have a great power right now and you can take it any which way. So you can even start tracking, as an example, different data points across different positions of Google and trying to understand in different SERPs, different languages, and different keywords, what's having a positive and a negative impact on those particular keywords. And everyone likes to say they're an SEO guru, buy this backlink because it has a DR of X amount, so much traffic, and so forth. But in my opinion, the only real source of information which counts is Google itself. It's my opinion. And I mean, we're just going into a rabbit hole here, right? But when we started talking, I just, instantly came back to this notion which I had a while back, which was the system is broken. Okay. So it just doesn't make sense. And I mean, I'm completely focused on GainChanger, but this is such an interesting system, broken system that you are solving right now, and I mean, you can speak for it, I guess also, but I mean, the data sources don't match. So I imagine that every single operator that you work with has a different definition of what a registration is, or a lead, or a qualified lead, or a sales qualified lead, or an FTD, or is it GGR, is it NGR? So like I'm pretty sure that you have to deal with a lot of customization, and I don't think there's one size fits all. So even the fact that you solve that problem, which matches data points on your system as a central location versus multiple systems in the background, that's incredible. In itself, it's something which instantly got me thinking that you guys are the real deal. And when you represent operators and affiliates and you're trying to make the most money out of it effectively, I mean, it's kind of like the thought process is this is a completely broken system. It's a power struggle of operators complaining that they're spending too much and they don't have profitable deal, and affiliates saying that operators are screwing them over, right? So there's no transparency either. So, the whole notion that affiliates are starting to or have been for many years introducing fees for writing reviews about your website. Then they start thinking about how to have positions that you pay for, not just based on the performance and having fixed fees. Then on top of that, you have to pay a CPA, a hybrid, and all of these things. It's a free market, but it's not really free because it's relationship based, right? So if I were to go out and try and let's say there's a hot affiliate that's, controlling, I don't know, a large portion of the SEO traffic in a particular region, maybe they have, I don't know, 20, 30 sites. I mean, they pretty much control the market. And, sometimes it's very relationship based and that's prone to its own risks when you have to deal with relationships and how those can be manipulated and how maybe sometimes the relationships might not be the most profitable for the people who are managing them, but these things happen anyway. So, in my opinion, there's just way too much human and not enough machine. Okay, and it's a lot of opinions, it's a lot of structures and so forth. And I think that's the value of, let's say, potentially calculating the market based on interest on a free market basis rather than on a relationship basis. And then this is where we started talking, right? Because you also start getting let's say, when you have the control of the markets and the flow of traffic and players coming up through a few different people, it also opens up and creates the opportunity for a lot of fraud also, right? And these are all things where, where you have, I mean, a lot of problems which I believe need to be fixed. I believe that you're handling them and you're thinking about them, but it also creates the opportunity for a transparent network where you can buy positions against other people based on demand rather than someone waking up in the morning and saying, you can get this position just because I don't know you yet. So, yeah, that's where we started from, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting because you're talking about audiences, we're talking about trying to make more data-driven decisions. And, I like your approach to thinking about, okay, where am I going to get started? Not necessarily in SEO, but you start asking questions. And I think a lot of people don't ask enough questions going, what is the answer to anything? Like, which percent of affiliates are using a post backward dynamic variable? Or, what are these interesting market segments? Or what's the player value estimation of anything in iGaming in different markets? And I think when you start looking at these questions, that's when you see companies come out of the woodwork, like us for what we do on the affiliate side, or Blask with the marketing analytics side, or even Humble, .ai, and just trying to go, how do we get these answers? And I think it's interesting to tie it full circle into affiliate marketing, going, well, what's working today and what's not working? I think we know what's not working is basic affiliate sites that have just review data or just basic data that everyone else has. And then I like to think of the way you think, which is what problems can we solve? What are questions we can answer? These become products. So I want to lead that into another rabbit hole, or say, what do you see is working and what's not working today in affiliate marketing?
Okay. So, I mean, I could give you the cookie cutter approach. Because like there is, or I could give you, let's say, the broader approach. Okay. So like when we're talking about my expertise, it's mainly on SEO. I do have expertise in other areas also, but I still do believe, rather, I still do not believe, but you can see it visibly that Google controls not only a large portion of traffic that's coming from organic searches, but just traffic in general on the internet. So, I mean, if you're buying ads on websites, where do those websites get their traffic from? So people
AdSense.
are, yeah, there you go. So you have people who are bidding on AdSense and other ad networks, on programmatic advertising, on websites where people are going either direct, okay, they have it bookmarked, but most of the time they first search for the brand in Google or another search engine. So the way that I see this going is, and maybe I'm biased over here because I'm a hyper-focused SEO, is based on what's happening right now in the market from the SEO side of things. And I mean, we do know that there have been a supreme amount of update going on over the past couple of months. And I mean, it's quite interesting to see that in some cases, completely legitimate websites, which are building great EAT, have the right entities and authors, legitimate people that they're not faking, right? Are getting destroyed. Legitimate news websites, okay, are getting destroyed. And then on the other side, the stuff that Google's fighting is starting to get promoted higher. So, I mean, there's a huge uh, contradiction in the approach versus the results in some cases. And I mean, there is no SEO without, I think, let's call it gray hat. I think if anyone has search engine optimization in their title or in any kind of their skills, effectively they are breaking Google's guidelines, right? So effectively, Google doesn't want you to manipulate its guidelines. So if your pure purpose in life is to manipulate the guidelines, to manipulate the search results, then you are effectively in breach of their terms and conditions, and can get your website in some trouble. But we're all doing that, right? And I see that right now, while some of the blackest tactics are being rewarded and others are being completely destroyed and legitimate businesses. So I had a person completely outside of iGaming, just land-based operation, had a normal website, ranking on their brand, decimated, removed from the search results completely. And I mean, when we're looking at why this is happening, I mean, Google hasn't changed much in 20 damned years. Okay. So they've pretty much stagnated for such a long period of time. And it's obvious why, right? Because their mission is to organize the information on the internet as best as they can and provide the most relevant answer to people's questions. And they've been doing this for a very, very long period of time. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. But now we're been put into the situation where starting to get panicked by other systems which are coming into place, such as OpenAI, such as Perplexity, and all of the other, let's say, target competitors, and they're also starting to get, you know, put under pressure with an antitrust law case, as well as quite a lot of quite a lot of interesting developments on the closed, let's say, the closed environments that they've been controlling for such a large period of time. So, like, we're talking about affiliate marketing. What's changing? If Google is changing, if the place where people are going is changing, if the way that impressions are happening on a website, everything starts changing, right? And when you start seeing a big entity like Google being forced, at least in the European Union, I don't know if it's like this in the States, but if you had to open up your browser and I don't know, just try and search a keyword in the URL section in the European Union, we're currently being asked which browser or sorry, search engine we would like to use to perform that search, right? So there's a lot of changes happening. And now suddenly, this monster Google, which has had, a monopoly over the market of search of, I don't know, how much is it, 95%
Yeah, I
for
think
so,
95, 96. And it's dropping quickly though.
yeah. So, they have that 96%, let's call it what it is. It's a monopoly, right? Suddenly the browser funneling is starting to change because people are actually being asked. I mean, maybe although I don't really enjoy the Google experience that much, I still do believe that they are the best search engine out there right now, at least for what they do. So I still select them as my default search engine, although now I'm starting to see a lot of different brands. And you know what? I might go and test them out and see who else is ranking and see what they're doing. And even as a search engine professional, you get blinded because you don't need to care about many other search engines. When 9.5 out of 10 people are going to one, you might be wasting your time on the 0.5% unless, it's really cheap and easy to get there and there are some volume. So things are changing. Google has been panicked, and they're taking some decisions, let's be honest, also like parasite SEO. I mean, I didn't see an update which impressed me on the parasite SEO side. I saw an update which was a panic move. It reminds me very, very much of the old days of manual penalty. I mean, nowadays, if there's link spam, not much happens, right? Google's algorithms have gotten so good that they can, start defining velocity, the quality, the network. And if you don't get impacted negatively, they will just ignore, what's happening. So even link attacks, although they still do work, don't work as well as they did. So you have this amazing monster with all of this, data, and data is king at the end of the day, which cannot figure out how to deal with parasite SEO and instead is going to coupon and betting websites or subdirectories which are posted onto news sources and manually issuing penalties. So this is not algorithmic excellence. It's a show of weakness in my eyes, not a show of power. And it's definitely a slap on the wrist and a kind of like, hey, if you're going to do this, there's a risk towards it because if we discover that you're doing it, we might come and we might damage you. Okay. So this like kind of reminds me also of the days where, they released the sponsored tag and everyone started, oh my God, we need to have sponsored tags on our content. Okay, so you just want to flag to Google what a sponsored post looks like so that they can collect a lot of data of over this for a very long period of time and then can potentially get better at dealing with that. So, you know, this is the kind of thing that we're doing. And, just because I really want to get to the crux of your question, but I think it's important that we cover this first. So on the other side, we also have Apple, who have had for a very long period of time Google as their default search engine. And I mean, in the United States, at least, I do know that Apple adoption for mobile usage is is extremely high. So that's a large percentage of searches which are happening on the internet. We also see that OpenAI and Apple are coming into a partnership also over time. So this means that all of a sudden, something which has been very stable over a very long period of time is starting to get disrupted. Now, from a practical point of view, right now, are you seeing a huge amount of difference in clicks and all of these different items? If you have been impacted by one of these updates, definitely, right? But if you have managed to retain positions or win, then we are not seeing as large of an update, an impact right now, if you've managed to hold. That said, it's kind of like, you have a cancer deep down, but you don't want to go to the doctor to scan it and to deal with it. So over time, this will start changing, and affiliates will need to start not focusing on fighting for keywords, but focusing on fighting for attention. And that's what we're going to be moving towards as time goes by. I mean, look, John, I see this as the future and not that distant future. You know, people are going to be looking back and saying, oh my God, you guys used to have search engine where you used to go and type a keyword and you used to have to go through like, maybe it worked well until 2019 and then it started working badly. And then instead of getting your answer on one click, you had to start looking at 4 different websites with 4 different experiences. They had to figure out how to navigate those websites and read through a lot of information to get, the little bit of information which is actually relevant to you. Like, I believe where we're heading to is, you know, uh, and we're starting to see this also. And sorry, I'm going into a really deep rabbit hole over here because I really
Sure.
want to answer it correctly. I believe that we're going into a walled garden kind of approach, where publishers are not going to be rewarded with clicks that much anymore and traffic to their website. I believe that you're going to have a few domains which are going to become massive, and they're going to be pulling information from UGC and feeds rather than authors. I still believe there's going to be a place for those. So we're moving into a direction where we have an open market based on Google's, you know, on how nice Google's feeling that day to send you a click, to a closed market where Google going to and other search engines are not going to want to send the clicks and are going to want to provide information in the browser, also in their website. Ultimately. Everyone's laughing at what's going on with SGE, and it sucked. They used to have a large amount of clicks were being served through AI content. I believe it was something like a particular kind of what was the word, intent 60%, and now it's down to like 9% of the searches are showing SGE based answers. But yeah, that's because they're learning, right? And right now, I believe that Google is moving more and more into valuing the user signals than it is into valuing the SEO optimizations and the content. So I believe that over time is going to be rewarding people or rewarding sites or rewarding sources of content which have branded traffic, which people return to, which people spend time on. And this is like flipping the affiliate model on its head, right? To an extent, because like you speak to any affiliate, at least until last year, and the model is okay, I want to rank on a keyword, get someone on my site, and I want them to click out as quickly as possible because gosh darn it, if they don't click out as quickly as possible, I'm going to end up with a lower conversion rate. And I want them to select one of those sites, click, go, and then convert on that website. And then it's done, right? And maybe I have some programmatic, I can retarget them, I do some smart stuff with telecoms providers, yada yada. But that was the model before. But now we're going to a different kind of model over time. We're going to an attention model. And realistically, I mean, right now, what would my advice be to affiliates? Um, so don't just have one asset. If you're going to have one asset, do the best job that you possibly can to build a brand, like from the domain name into um, the kind of authors and personalities that they have and content they write. Think about reducing your cost significantly. So integrate. I'm not telling you use AI to replace people or to replace content writers, but I mean, don't ignore AI. Okay, use AI. Don't ignore it. But also, don't only go for those high value assets, the ones which you invest money into, a lot of time into. You have a period of time where you're not going to be getting much out of it, but you build it over time and then you build a big monster, which is multinational. So that can still work. But if you're going to be going for more of the exact match domains, for more of the, let's say, link building tactics, which are um, you know that they're dangerous. You know that they're not going to have like a long lifespan, right? So the aim of going for a good time for a long time or a good time for a short time, right? So like there's a huge potential right now to be a crash and burn affiliate. What do I mean by that? So if you wanted to be an affiliate that purchases domains, expired domains, exact match, loads content on them, regardless of what Google says, you still see this working, okay? Load content on it, deploy 10, 15, 20 sites, wait for them to rank for a couple of months, do it extremely cheaply. Then they get burnt into hell. They're not recoverable. But in that period of time, you made the money which you needed to make and it was profitable. And you're going to fail a lot more than you succeed, but you need to keep your costs under control. So that can work also. Um, but my preferred approach, and it's really funny, John, and sorry, I'm monologuing here a little bit, but um, when I had just started GainChanger all those years back, I remember telling people on my first panel I had ever gone on at Sigma 2019, guys, start investing in building a brand.
Yes.
And this was all those years ago, and you don't really see the patterns emerging in the future and predict it, because that's what we do in SEO. We try to predict what's going to happen. You just care about how you're making money right now, and yeah,
Yeah.
making money right now is good, but making money in the long term is good also, right?
Yeah. I know the concept of just build a brand sounds simplistic, but when I went to Brighton SEO, there was a panelist and she basically said, when I'm trying to help my clients win business in search, she said there's one type of competitor I can't beat over and over again. And what makes them good? And she said it all came down to branding. And I think branding, like here's my recognition of, what you see in the marketplace of going, like what works and what isn't working. I think building a good product, and you've already said this before, it's like build the best, whatever it is you can be, build the best affiliate site. I think if you build a good product, it becomes an extension of branding. So think about Ask Gamblers. How many people search for casino name Ask Gamblers? I mean, we already have it right now where you search for something plus Reddit. I do this all the time. Like I'm looking for the Reddit version inside Google for a question I have. But this happens for branding. Like we want to be in a space where people search for an affiliate program plus the word staff zone because they're looking for the review we've done. That's what we aspire to. So we're already thinking, that far ahead in the future. And I think you're right. Like to fight for attention, how do you fight for attention? Build a good product, and it's got to be not more than information. So I don't know. My answer is like all your eggs in one basket or diversify. I think the answer is you pick and choose. But if you're going to pick only one, you're right. I don't think everyone really comes to the affiliate marketing game going, I want to be the best. They want to rank for best casinos, but they don't go out of their way to make the best casinos article, which is pure irony.
Yeah, and now we're entering an age where, I mean, I come from the software industry, okay? So I actually started off in SEO, as I used to write user manuals way back for software companies. And, I mean, my journey was I saw that there was an opportunity to publish a PDF in Pages on a site and centrally manage it through Google Docs. I had a plugin for different pages and I used to join everything. So it was cool. It was a fun project, right? While I was like, doing training and recording videos. And then when I, put this manual out as Pages, I started realizing, oh, look, I'm getting a lot of traffic coming towards this manual. And sales started contacting me and saying, hey, we're getting a lot of leads. Where are they coming from? And, when you're talking to the people that you're solving the problem for with the solution that you're promoting and the product is good, that's winning, right? So I always believe that if you have a good product, you don't even need to sell it. It sells itself. Okay. And as you said right now, Google is the product that everyone is selling, right? Because everyone is selling someone else's product. And how risky is that? Okay. When you look at it on a macro scale, you have no control over Google. Most you can do is influence it. So if your entire strategy is not into the product you're building that can sit and live by itself and generate recurring visitors, if you're only going to survive by ranking number one on a particular keyword, then you're in trouble, because positions on Google are never bought unless you're paying for PPC, right? Positions on Google are rented. And I've ranked number one for thousands of keywords over my career. I never retained ranking on number one throughout my career. So it comes and it goes. So it's going to fluctuate the traffic. You need to have diversification of topics, other keywords you're ranking on, all of these other aspects. So yeah, there's a very simplistic approach that people think of when they're trying to tackle these kinds of games, which is let me use Google's product rather than build my own. And it's a good strategy because it works, right? And a lot of people are very, very successful at it. But I think it still works, but it's not going to be working for much longer when you just simply write a very, lean piece of content, a website which loads extremely fast, which ranks on a particular keyword, and then that particular keyword over a period of time might disappear, it might come back. Then what's going to happen over time? If you're just providing like content, very lean experience, traditional churn and burn style SEO, over time, Google is going to start looking at the user signals. And I've been saying this for years, right? So the greatest success that I ever have in SEO is when I mix it with multi-channel. So if I can't buy a link from a website, I buy a banner from that website. If I if I cannot, let's say, get an uplift in my keywords because the competitors have something over me, then I start pushing traffic towards it. And I'm not talking about click manipulation, okay? So those things do work. I think they have a lifespan also, okay? But I'm talking about real traffic over here, a real proper strategy where, you look at your competitors and you try to determine what do they have which I don't, which is making them successful. And I can give you an example about the UK market when we were promoting an operator, a regulated operator in the UK market that was a casino. And at that point in time, all of the people who are ranking on the top positions in the UK market for online casino UK, Big Bass Bonanza, Big Bass Snap Bonanza UK, all of these kinds, live casino UK, all of these kinds of keywords back then actually had a sportsbook platform also. So they weren't just standing alone as casino, they were also sportsbooks. They had, in some cases, local shops. And the link profile, I just couldn't compete with. Why? Because these guys had footballers, and I eventually ended up meeting the guy who runs this whole activity. So they would find, let's say, washed up footballers, right, who are no longer playing. They're a little bit older, to make a comment on behalf of the operator, such as on behalf of John Betting, right? I am going to say this, and then get it published as a quote within a particular publication, such as the Sun, the Telegraph, and these kinds of domains, which you suddenly have a gap in your profile. So if you do everything perfectly, you suddenly have a gap in your profile. So then we had to start looking into ways of how to fill that gap when we don't have the product to be able to satisfy the market requirements and the topicality which Google is seeing relevant towards the UK market. So I don't know how it is right now, but back then you needed to have sports, you needed to have casino. People who wanted to bet on sports would be cross-marketed casino. People who would bet on casino would be cross-marketed sports. So it was an ecosystem. So we actually managed to get there, and we managed to get there by teaming up with some great PR guys that and running some advertisements. Okay, some different, let's say, skills to casino. And this is the beautiful thing, okay? That when you create a viral sensation, and we created a viral sensation, I'm not going to mention what it is, but I mean it went wild, So like 2,000 referring domains in 2 weeks, Lad Bible, Unilad, all of the best things, right? That's for the UK market you could hope for. Not only that, all of the traffic behind it to make it look not only more organic, but to actually rise the wave and to promote it more, to get it to go even more viral and so forth. And, we managed to get, at that point in time, a huge boost and start ranking at top positions of all of those keywords. So registrations went through the roof, TDs went through the roof. The promotion itself was retweeted by some very famous people that, just, got the brand out there on a global scale. So when you look at SEO in isolation, and this is what a lot of people do, it works, but you're playing by a set of rules like the Formula One, right? So uh, who can cut the most fat off of their you know uh, their machine, right? So the car itself, and who can have the most power to weight, the highest power to weight ratio, and that's what it is. It's like hyper competitive. But then there are these secrets which aren't really spoken about in SEO, um, which is a shame because some cases SEO seem to work in isolation. And if SEO, you integrate with PR, you integrate with programmatic media advertising, media buying, you even integrate the SEO side with the PPC. So, like, how many people? And I spoke to a guy like a month ago, and I came up with a suggestion like, okay, so there's a new product, you've never worked on it, you don't know what the conversion is going to be like, but you want to start. We don't have any market research or any reference points. So it's not an area of expertise for myself or GainChanger. And we're instantly going to go all in on a set of keywords that we don't know how they're going to perform. So why not test it out on PPC first, which is, an approach that can actually tie the click to the actual result. Okay, coming from the particular keyword. Let's see where the money is. Not online casino space. It's something different. It's technology. And then let's scale a strategy around something which has been proven to generate money. So I see that a lot of, let's say, departments and organizations work in isolation. The greatest success that I have in SEO is when either I get all of the departments to work together, or when I take control of everything myself. So I'm a monster when it comes to these kinds of things. You know what I mean? um, Setting up ad networks, programmatic by myself, obviously having the correct partners and so forth, volume to be able to track everything, and start scaling and moving towards profitability. We don't get a banner, we don't get a link from here, let's buy a banner. And like when you suddenly start building all of that up and you start tackling that multi-channel approach, that's when you end up having a great product, great promotion, great omni-channel approach. Then you become unbeatable, right? Then you can say like, okay, this is going to be a little bit longer lasting. Like, okay, we're not just relying on position one of best online casinos in a particular market because right now our machine is faster than the other guys.
I
That's the way
agree.
that I look at it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back because you said something that really got my attention, which was you said you have experience in creating manuals and then you published it. So it was a PDF. I think you said you turned it into pages, and then sales were like, "Where are all these leads coming from?" And this I already wrote down as a note before you said it, which is bottom of funnel content. And funny enough, we're a SaaS company, so what I've realized is that we need to do more and more bottom of funnel content, and then trying to tie this into affiliates. I think not enough affiliates think about what bottom of funnel is. And it's like that is a valuable insight where it's low volume, but the clicks that come through are like high intent. Like it's sales that are people are ready to buy. I mean, if they're going through this documentation, it's well, how did they find it? And if it's through search, you've got a high intent user. I think a lot of affiliate sites are missing this concept and going, how can they go deep or super niche or really deep in the content to go, let me get some questions answered.
Yeah. And when you obviously start going down this rabbit hole, which is another rabbit hole, it is correct. And listen to how crazy this industry is. Okay, so you have, let's say, three major tools. Okay, or let's say two. Right? Let's just say the ones that everyone on this podcast is going to know about. So you have SEMrush and you have Ahrefs. So these two tools are going to provide you a set of keywords that either they've pulled from someone's search console, they've pulled through APIs, or they've pulled through Google related searches when something gets placed into the search. So every time someone also searches a keyword on one of these platforms, it enters their database, okay? And it persists data. So if you look at an Ahrefs as an example and you see go put in UK, type online casino, and it will say last updated either 10 seconds ago or 10 days ago. This is all based on the data persisting from the last time that someone searched for that to make the more efficient product, which doesn't have which wait times. So listen to how crazy this is. A lot of people are taking their entire decision-making process on which keywords to target through a tool which everyone else has access to, is actively looking at and basing their decisions off. So by definition, everyone's going to be, by definition, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. Yet everyone is looking at these keywords on these tools, saying, hey, I want to build up from around this. And then everyone ends up in a competition in some cases where no one wins, John. So like what we do is we really help people, or rather what I started way back when I was working with when I was working in going from technology, and then I started coming into this space and I started working for companies. I started taking a look at like, why are we doing what we're doing? Is there money in this particular keyword, in this particular market? Or are people just spending so much money because they're artificially inflated by their brand, right? And and in some cases, C-level are taking decisions because it looks like SEO is doing well, but in actual fact, it's just ranking on its own brand name, which people are searching for as a result of all of the great work that has been done with affiliates, with promotion, and so forth. So I really started looking into, like, okay, product. And I'm going to say it again and again and again so that we keep on having a consistent basis for this conversation, because we can go into many different products, but online casino. Okay. So if I am looking for the keyword online casino within, again, UK market, position one, I need to look at everyone else who's looking at that keyword. So everyone knows about the keyword, right? Everyone wants the keyword. If you say you don't want traffic from this keyword, you're lying, right? The question is, are you capable of getting there from the technical perspective? Are you capable of getting there from the organizational perspective? So if we need to make update, are you capable of prioritizing SEO? Once, what is it going to take to get there? What have people been doing there for all these years? How much is it really going to cost? And I'm not talking about that BS approach, where like sometimes you have people who go in and say, like if people pretend like they have a hotline to Google, like it's their grandmother, right? And say like, yeah, you just give me this much money and in 3 months you're going to get clicked. It's BS. You need to look at the data approach. You need to look at, number one, the performance of the site or the operator, of the affiliate site or the operator itself, to understand what the metrics are and how those convert into money at the end of the day. And when you run this investigation, if you really run it the way that we do, which is something I built from the ground up and I've perfected over like the past 10 years, right? You can really determine, at least if everything goes your way and everything works out great for you, and there are no Google updates and people keep on moving at the same pace they're currently moving, if you really plot it out, if there's money to be made or not. And you will be surprised, John, how many times with these really large keywords, which everyone has access to through the tools, the answer is no. It's people are overspending, and it doesn't make sense, because it's more of a scenario of I'll be there to gain market share rather than to gain ROI. And that's when you can start looking at these other sets of keywords. And I'm not going to mention the name of the individual, but let's just say not really a mentor, but let's say someone who guided me in the past. And this was the thing that they said many years ago in iGaming, at least 7 years ago, even before I started GainChanger, which was like, Sean, don't focus on the big keywords. Focus on the long tail keywords, which probably not a lot of people are landing on. But hey, if it's going to cost me 10 euros or 30 euros to get a page live, and I get one player every 2 months that I get a 350 euro CPA on, it's money, and those are the kinds of keywords which, unfortunately, not all SEO practitioners are geared to tackle. Why? Because SEOs are, we think of ourselves as scientists and nerds, um, and we look at a lot of data. But what we tend to forget sometimes is the expertise aspect. And when I'm working on something which I've never done before, I'm not an expert at, my first approach is not only looking at the data, but looking at the expertise and finding the correct person who knows everything about that niche and everything about the niche within that niche, right? To be able to come up with the questions that the tools don't give us,
Yeah.
that we know are problems that people are looking to solve.
That
And that's where the money is.
Yeah, and that's what I try to do in affiliate marketing. That's why I'm like, let me do this one thing really well and make it my identity. I I I saw something on Twitter or X recently that someone was basically sharing like their own version of a case study. They said, I had this ranking on Google and I removed an affiliate link on that page or a whole bunch of them. And they said their rankings increased. And I kind of believe this to be true because I have a few friends that some of their sites suffered massively in this series of Google updates. So I've also read that affiliate sites have been kind of targeted a little bit more at the expense of e-commerce. So e-commerce has gained more, whereas affiliate has gained less. Do you think there's some truth in this where if a site has too many affiliate links, Google one knows what an affiliate link is, and they're kind of analyzing your site going, is this really good value? Like, do you think this is important?
So I'll go back to what we're talking about when we said, like, what is the purpose of an affiliate site, right? At least from the SEO point of view. From the SEO point of view, the way that affiliates have been looking at this for so long is, and this is the reason, by the way, why As Gamblers does so well, right? Because they're not just providing a click path, right?
Yeah.
So so if you are creating a website which its specific purpose is to rank number one on best whatever, um, best toilet roll, best toilet brush, best this, but whatever it is, right? And the purpose of that website is to keep people on that website for as little as possible and click out into an affiliate link, then the signals that Google is going to be receiving over time that it's starting to pay more attention to are going to be less valuable as a data point than if people had spent more time on the page. Maybe they managed to buy the actual product from the website. So I see that Google is also implementing features over time, and everyone's seeing this, right? Where they're effectively putting affiliate links and links to these different areas in the search result themselves. Okay. So I would say that over time, the concept is going to start moving in the different direction. But what we know, and even from the latest Google leak, which, by the way, I mean, we could talk all day about those Google leaks, right? But
That could be
I,
another episode easily.
and I mean, the nice thing about Google leaks is, like, if you've been getting slapped in the face by Google for over 10 years, like I have and some other people, there are some things that happen, right? So that, as an example, Google does something with Chrome, right? And if you're building PBN, you might want to use Firehawk. But you sound paranoid. Like, okay, look at that guy who's saying that's all Google products should be avoided, yada yada yada. You know that traffic is impacting search results. You know that there's a trending effect on Google. You know that all of these things are happening. And seeing those leaks come out and actually seeing some of the variables which are related to those particular features, although it's unclear how they worked and the source of information, if it's correct, if it's misguidance, whatever it might be, everyone tends to know what's going on in their niche quite well. It's only until something leaks that we say this is actually happening. So for me to tell you, hey, look, if you have affiliate links on your website, you might get potentially um, less rewarded than other websites which are offering specific product. I would say, do you think that your website is offering the best user experience? Because we know that Google's factoring in traffic. And if the answer is no, and people are just coming onto your product and leaving, and there's no reason to come back, don't only look at the affiliate links, look at everything else. Do you have too many ads on your website? Is it just a sucky experience in general? So I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said, yes, it is having an impact. And I'll tell you why, John, also, because if you look at how the gambling niche performs versus the medical niche, versus the coupon niche, versus all of these niches in different territories, it's like how I see it is that Google has police, and the police it puts onto certain industries with a harsher force depending on, let's say, medical. You know, typically if you're writing content, it shouldn't just be, um, you're going to be providing people medical advice, it should be from a trained professional, right? It shouldn't
Yeah.
be from, a five content writer kind of thing, So maybe they're wanting
That's
to
for
provide.
Google to do, the AI content version of that, but that's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
whole other joke.
yeah. So you know what I'm saying. So I mean, Ivana Flynn had mentioned a really cool uh, result that SGE had provided at iGaming Next, which had to do with, something to do with drinking your urine is healthy or something like that from SGE. So, yeah, look, every industry, every niche works differently. And it even goes as far as if you're going to look at the online casino space in UK versus the Netherlands, okay, there are a lot more. If you look at the link provided in the Netherlands, link directories everywhere, very low quality. Then you go onto some Asian market and you just see, just because you want to see what's going on over there. And you see it's all PBNs, it's all the crappiest sites you can possibly imagine, which are linking and purposely being linked back to the asset, and they're winning. Then you have some people who do it the correct way also, who are also winning. So it's like one size fits all. Then you have Africa, and in Africa, in some cases, there's like there's a clear veering towards searching for brand versus searching for keywords. So it looks as though people just aren't educated right now on the particular areas. And the stuff which is happening over there is absolutely mad also. So I wouldn't say that, hey, these having affiliate site on your link is going to get you negatively impacted. I would say, like, okay, look at your niche. Look at the language that people are searching in, the language that the browser set. Look at the location that you're set to. Okay. And there's a difference. There's a difference, like Google doesn't distinguish in hreflang between state, okay, and provinces. So if you're in the States, there's US. And if you want to target that particular state, you do US/Oregon/Washington, whatever, right? You give that indication. But it's like Google sees it as you are the United States. But there are differences in the SERPs in different areas and locations that you're in particular different countries. So since it gets so minute and it gets so specific to those particular keywords, it's difficult for me to come up with a generalization and say, hey, affiliate links can get hit, when in so many cases they don't, you know?
So you mentioned before that you think that there's going to be maybe just a bunch of bigger affiliates that have like a better product. So if Google's making changes, we're going to see some affiliates shaken out of the market. So if that's true, would you say that it might be important for affiliates to be considering first party data where you're kind of going, okay, instead of sending you all these like pages of links, it's kind of going, let's not just build a product to keep you here, but let's go out of our way to go, what can we do to earn the trust to get your name, your email, your address, your phone? I kind of think these things are going to become more important in affiliate marketing, and I want to get your take.
So yeah, it's again the old model, which is rank as quickly as possible, stay there as long as possible, get a click to leave your website as quickly as possible and make money. To now having a product, like, so if you have a newsletter, if you have sidebars, if you try to
Yeah.
get people to register, all of these different concepts, they kind of trade away from what makes you money. So that's why people don't typically do it, because if you try to get someone to sign up and then you try to remarket to them in the future, it can be seen kind of negative as an approach, just because you might potentially risk number one, that they sign up but they don't give you the right to market to them via email. So that's like one risk that there is. But more importantly, I would say create something of value.
Value. Yeah.
Create something of value, like, and a tool, right? So I mean, way back we had built a tool um that had helped people who which helped people understand the price that they should pay for a link. So you put in the domain, it calculates the DR of that different jazz, and it comes up with an average price based on a huge amount of factors that we had cooked into our system.
Yeah, that's
And
valuable.
that's valuable. So, like, you're not only going to have people who land on your product, but they're also going to want to get value out of it, and they're going to want to receive updates. So that's something you have to think about. And I think that right now, if you're only getting value from search engines, then you need to milk it as quickly as possible, because it's in some cases so expensive to compete at the highest levels. But if you're looking at like PPC, in some cases, if you don't get a conversion every 3 clicks, you're losing money,
Yeah.
and you're breaking even after 3 clicks. So it's tough to see that people who have invested so much money and are only relying on the Google aspect of things cannot adopt these approaches, because if they do, they could potentially be losing money on the amount of money that they've invested versus what they're able to gain out of it. But then there are other ways on those assets that people can generate reasons for people to come back. And I mean, streamers do a great job of this, So I always thought, how great would it be if, as an example, a Jake Paul or a Logan Paul, were to set up their own website, their own gambling website, and you can actually then funnel a huge audience over there, right? And then, which is effectively what a Twitch streamer is doing, or a streamer in general for the casino industry, and then build those assets in a way which are not focused on SEO only, where you have this kind of uh, you have to get performance out of it, so you kind of have to take certain decisions, but you also have traffic coming from different sources that you can treat differently and add and provide value to, right?
Which I think compounds and actually gives you SEO power. Would you agree?
Correct.
Yeah.
But if you're offering something of value, number one, people link to it, so they reference it. Number two, people will return and visit it again. So, like, I mean, in Malta, we have something called the Malta salary calculator, right? I mean, how many people in Malta are going to the salary calculator and checking their salary and how much money the government takes, and social
How many
security,
people are doing that while they're at work?
you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, user behavior, value, user signals, traffic, these are all things which are going to help in the future, are helping right now. And ultimately, the longer that you hold, like, we're in an attention economy. So in Google, we're just focusing on the attention of a search, an intent, and giving them the answer. We're just trying to get in between that, right? That's what we're trying to do. But if you look at like the typical attention that a user has, like, what's going to happen? We're going to get off this podcast. We'll have a chat with each other afterwards. We'll go, check out our soul. We'll go on LinkedIn. Then we'll check our WhatsApp, and then we'll check our Skype. Then we'll check our internal systems. Our Teams, our this, our that. Then we'll come back to, maybe we'll go on Instagram, like a photo, go to some. So you have been split as a person into 1,000 pieces, and the area that you touch brings out a different version of yourself, which needs to be spoken to in a different way.
Agreed.
So we are talking about tackling the search intent. You are looking for an answer to your question, but we're ignoring everything else.
Yeah. So last question is, what do you see of the future of affiliate marketing as it intersects with business intelligence?
That's a tough one, John.
Yeah. Well, again, like, I think it's a great question for you because I think you're a very good problem solver. And my belief is that one of your skill sets is pattern recognition. And I think you've already seen the patterns well before Google's made all these changes, which is, build a better product. Data can get you answers to things. I think applying that concept is actually, one of the strongest insights. Can you build a product that answers questions or is data driven? I don't think that, I can't think of many data driven affiliate sites out there. They're more product first, which is great, but it's like, how do you make an app or how do you make a plugin? I think these things are like the real, like your experience is business intelligence in SEO, which can apply to anything.
I think that's something that I've never seen done right, at least in my limited experience, because I haven't delved into this in detail, is attribution modeling.
Yeah.
I've never really seen like a tangible attribution model which I can say I can trust. And like I think there are 2 areas, or let's say 3 main areas, which I'd like to see in the future. Number one is I want to understand, and this is what I've focused on for a long period of time and adapted. I want to understand a realistic budget and what I get out of it. Okay. And I want something which that trails over. So not something which is a BS number and then we start and then it's something completely different. I want something which is based on data that, hey, if we do this, that, and that, we can expect within the range of X amount of results. So that would be something, and that's on a performance-based approach, right? So that would be from a BI point of view. I'd like to be able to build out business plans automatically, right? And trade them automatically. And then what I would like to do from the business intelligence point of view is I would like to trade the performance of the business. I would like to trade the actual performance versus the business plan. And why would I want to do that? I'd want to do that because if I do that enough and I have enough people doing it, I collect a data set that can then be applied against benchmarking. And then you can start implementing intelligence around the different data points to start trading towards what patterns are going to emerge and make and refine projection as well as a trading kind of understanding of like how it's going. And then ultimately understanding like from the attribution side of things, where the money is actually coming, So, I mean, like from GainChanger's point of view, I mean, building a brand is great because I mean, most people that come to us, or rather, a lot of the great people that come to us are people that come to us because we are a brand. We have had results over a significant period of time. We're here to stay. We've been here for a while, and you know, it's difficult to say like we got this customer from this event, or we got this a customer
Yeah.
from this online form, or this, that, and the other. Because someone comes and contacts us, they might have searched for a keyword, or might have been presented for it, and that might get the attribution, or they might have seen. I'm a tall guy. They might have seen me walk past an event, shake hands with someone, say I need to speak to that guy, or they might have heard us speak, or they might be watching this podcast, right? So
Or
I
I've
haven't.
recommended you to a friend and then they Googled your name and then the attribution is Google, not from me.
Yeah, you know. So that's something which I'd like to see more of in the future. Let's say. So let's say
That
projecting. So business plans versus actual performance versus understanding where the performance is really coming from.
I think you've asked yourself the next super app you could build to do this maybe AI analysis of going, what would the search and PPC value be? What would the roadmap be? What do you need to do? What is the competition analysis? What are the page optimizer pros or the just to be able to analyze a site and going, this is what you're competing against from every angle.
Yeah, and the truth is that you don't need to have a huge customer database to do that because all of the information is basically public. It's online. The only thing that you're missing is the financial performance, and that's where you come in, John.
We could. So we'll work on that big project. So Sean, thanks so much. You're welcome to be on as another guest. I know there's a lot of things we can talk about. How can people get a hold of you?
So yeah, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always responding to all my messages. You can come to our website, contact us, but please feel free to go through LinkedIn. It's the easiest and most approachable way to reach me.
Okay, you can do that. I'll include all the notes in I'll include all of that information in the show notes, and it's GainChanger.com as well. Sean, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Affiliate BI podcast. I'd like to take this time to ask for a small favor to leave a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcast. That helps us expand our reach to rank higher in podcast directories and reach more listeners.